Assalamu alaikum, dear audience and students. Today we will discuss about the reflective writing. आप जानते हैं कि कल हमने रिफ्लेक्टिव थिंकिंग एंड क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग के बारे में क्लास ली थी। उसकी जो बेसिक कंसेप्ट थे, जो कॉग्निटिव लर्निंग थी, जो बेसिक बैकग्राउंड नॉलेज था, वो कल हमने डिस्कस किया। Now the idea of reflective thinking and reflective practices is to improve our practices and improve our learning. In order to make sure the reflective practices, it is necessary for every healthcare professional to start the reflective writing practices. Reflective writing is a part of the academic writing. That is part of the duty of every healthcare professional to reflect on their practices back, what they have learned, what they have achieved, what is they are thinking about their previous experiences, and what was the outcome. Was it good experience and was it a bad experience? So today we will discuss about what is reflective writing, what is the basic mechanism, how to write a reflective writing, and we will discuss about share a few examples of the reflective writing so that you can understand that how the reflective letter is written. Today's session is the continuation of the yesterday's session, and I am recording this video so that you can keep it safe and understand the concept thoroughly. Now you see that the cat look into the mirror and see herself like a lion. So what do you think that this picture shows? ये पिक्चर हमें ये बताता है कि हमें अपने आप में क्या नजर आता है। हम अगर अपने आप पे रिफ्लेक्ट बैक करें तो हर इंडिविजुअल अगर ये प्रैक्टिस कर ले तो उनको अपनी जो खामी है, अपने जो गुड पॉइंट है, स्ट्रेंथ है, वीकनेस है, वो सारी उनको नजर आएगी। लेकिन शर्त ये है अगर वो ओपन माइंडेडली ये रिफ्लेक्शन करें। So the reflective writing is basically just to go back to your previous experiences or the events which you have just witnessed in your remote memory or your recent memory, and you just reflect on that events, and you just describe that. Then you go through a pattern. That pattern is called the Gibbs cycle. So in this session, we will also discuss about the Gibbs reflective writing style. Now, basically, in this slide, we have given you a diagram, and it shows that when you take a class, here is they have mentioned the example of the class. So for a student or for a teacher, if you take a class, so you just focus on the diagram. They have that it is mentioned here that a reflection paper is not a summary of the course reading. I mean, when you take a class, आप जब क्लास लेते हो तो क्लास रिफ्लेक्शन राइटिंग जब आप करते हो तो आप उस क्लास की बेसिक मेन थीम और कंसेप्ट जो है वो उसको समराइज नहीं करते, लेकिन साथ साथ उस क्लास में आप एज अ ऑडियंस अगर बैठे हो या एज अ टीचर उस पर अपने एक्सपीरियंसेस, अपने फीलिंग और अपने थॉट्स साथ साथ आप अगर लिटरेचर रिव्यू भी ऐड कर दो, फिर हाउ इट अफेक्ट हाउ दिस क्लास लर्निंग विल अफेक्ट योर लर्निंग और योर प्रैक्टिसेस, इस कंसेप्ट पे अगर आप इसको लिखे तो इसी को हम रिफ्लेक्टिव राइटिंग कहते हैं। ये जो डायग्राम है इसको आपने यूटिलाइज करके आपने एक रिफ्लेक्टिव पेपर बनाना होगा ताकि आप लोग इस कंसेप्ट को समझे कि रिफ्लेक्टिव राइटिंग क्या है, उसका लैंग्वेज क्या होगा, कैसे हम उसको तरतीब देंगे, कैसे उसके मेन जो कंसेप्ट है उसको फॉलो करके हम एक बेहतरीन रिफ्लेक्ट पेपर या इसे लिख सकते हैं. सो बेसिकली ये डायग्राम में मेंशन किया हुआ है कि जिस तरह मैंने मेंशन किया कि इस स्लाइड में हमने एग्जांपल क्लास के लिए है. सपोज आई एम द ऑडियंस और स्टूडेंट ऑफ दैट क्लास. सो ये डायग्राम शोज करता है कि मैंने इस क्लास में मेन थीम्स क्या सीखे. तो वो 2 4 6 मेन थीम आपने उठाने हैं कि क्लास में ये डिस्कस हुआ यस्टरडे. That this concept has been discussed yesterday. And how was your experience about that class? How you were feeling? Were you enjoying that class? Was it new for you? Was it difficult for you? So that is what you have experienced. How was the environment? Was it conducive when you were sitting in the class? Was the teacher helpful? Was the strategy of the teacher was helpful that you learn from that, or as the teacher was just reading the slides? So basically, the idea is you just integrate these two things: the main contents of the class, what you have learned yesterday, and your class experiences. Class experiences is completely different and individualized approach. Like my experience in the class will be different from you, and your experience will be different from the other. So when you combine these two ideas, like the reading contents, the main ideas, the classroom experiences, you integrate, combine them, and then you just explain that how these class affect your thinking and your practices, and how it will affect your thinking. So basically, the idea of writing the reflective essay is so that it can instigate your thinking process. And when your thinking process is started, so it means it will help you to read some more about that concepts, and your learning will improve. That will help and improve the practices what you will experience next. So the idea of this slide is, the diagram suggests that a reflection paper is your identification of the main theme of the reading integrated with your classroom experiences. I mean, how both your experience in the class, sitting in the class, and the class discussion, the main content which the teacher has discussed with you, how it affect your thinking and your practices. So the reflective practices, how the reflective practices improve our learning and thinking process. So there is the yesterday definition that we have discussed. You can go and read the slide. Now, in this slide, we will discuss about the Gibbs reflective cycle. It is one of the models that usually the students or the scholars use to write a reflective essay. And the Gibbs reflective cycle have 6 components. Like you have to follow these components, and while following these 6 components, you will have a better and a very informative reflective essay that will just use as a tool to guide you how to write. So in the Gibbs style, they have mentioned that in the first step, you will describe the situation. Like yesterday, as I have given you the example of the CPR patient or the patient with the IV cannula. So suppose I will go with the same examples. Like you had a patient in the emergency room while working as a nursing staff there, and you had a patient that suddenly collapsed, and you just have experienced the code of that patient, and at the end the patient was died. So that is what you had experienced yesterday shift. Now you are going to write a reflective writing on that events while following the Gibbs reflective cycle. Again, I'm telling you, the Gibbs reflective cycle is one of the most prominent model that usually the scholar used to write a reflective writing. So in the last, I will share the one of the reflective writing sample the scholar have followed this sequence, and they have written a very nice reflective essay. So don't worry. First, I will discuss that what is a description of the issue. So basically, in the description part, you just discuss the scenario, that what happened to that patient when it was brought to the ER, and what was the history, how she collapsed, whether there was some heart attack behind that history, what symptom that patient was presented in the ER, what was the subjective data of the patient, was he conscious, what is the objective data, what you have witnessed, the signs, and then your feeling about that experience. That is the next step of the Gibbs reflective cycle. Like the patient, as a result, the patient was died. So how you were feeling at that time? Were you worried? Were you worried about the patient death, or any events that make you feeling angry, or something like you are worried about the hospital resources? Is there any delay in the care? Was there any uh, qualified staff available? So that is what your feeling is, how you were feeling when that event happened. And after, and the third step is the evaluation step. You just draw the description on the paper and go step by step in the bullet form. In the evaluation step, what was good and what was bad, just write in the bullet form. Similarly, in the fourth stage, like the analysis, you as a healthcare professional, now you assess and analyze while following the fourth stage of the Gibbs reflective cycle, like what sense can you make of the situation? I mean, it tell us that what you need to improve, so that and next time when the similar patient come, so you can go a better care and you can save the patient life. So generally, when we someone experience a similar situation, so they get some lesson from that event. And the fifth stage, you just conclude what else could you have done. As I have told you, that was there any delay in the care? Was there any resources issues? Was there any healthcare professional issue? Did we respond swiftly while giving care to that collapsed patient? So you just analyze step by step and go to the conclusion that what what else could you have done better, so that you could have saved that patient life. And similarly, in the last, you just go for the next action plan. I mean, if it arose again, like a similar situation, if you face again, what would you do? So discussing the Gibbs reflective cycle, it is a very prominent and the most popular model while writing a reflective essay. So I would prefer you to use this model, and you can go to some read about more in detail and see some watch some videos on YouTube, or some read some content about the Gibbs in detail. But similarly, um, when you reading about this Gibbs reflective cycle, also try to write and practice while the reflective essays, so that you can understand well. So I suggest you, while you writing the reflective paper or essay, always use the Gibbs reflective cycles. And this slide we'll discuss that reflective writing, what is the role and function. So with the basic requirement is what it help us, how the reflective writing or the academic reflective writing help us Or if we publish this reflective essay, what it help us to other. So if a similar situation, suppose I face the similar situation and I write a reflective essay on that and I publish. So rather than for some other healthcare professional, rather than going through that experience, when he read my reflective writing, he will understand the situation thoroughly and he can avoid the similar mistake that what we had done. So the basic idea is it will help us improve our learning, improve our care or practices, and it will help us to share the experiences with other colleagues, and it will help us to generate the knowledge economy in the nursing discipline. And similarly, if you go in detail, like as you go further, while you have many experience by writing different essay on different events, so then you will be interested to write your essay more complex or more academically correct by integrating some literature in that. So the idea to integrate the theory related to that event is very much uh, important, so that what you have said, when you justified by giving reference from some theories in the literature, so it will people will trust on your writing, and they can learn much more better than writing a simple reflective writing. So always try to add some literature test to that essay as well. And this is the way that we can generate uh, the knowledge economy. Like my experience, if I share and publish, similarly you, the 100 people, if you share your experiences, so there are hundred and million of thousands of experiences coming from that, and then the community will be aware from most of the common problem that we as a nurse or a healthcare professional face. And this slide, it tells us that uh, while writing the reflective paper, it is your chance to add your thoughts and analysis, not someone other person. So better to express your feeling, what understanding you have got from that events, and just illustrate that understanding level on the paper, so that it reflect your ideas and thinking process. Now, as I have told you, that I will discuss these every parts of the Gibbs reflective cycle and detail. So the first step was the description. So basically, what we write in the descriptive part is what were the significant background factor to this experience. Like I give the example of the CPR patient, the collapsed CPR patient that was died in the year. So you just go in detail and read study that case completely. That what were the factors that bring that patient into that condition. So read about more of the background of that events and describe the experience. What was your experience? Like my experience, it was different from you and from other. So the reflective writing, you just use the term I, what I have felt. I was shocked. I was very upset while dealing with that situation, like term you used, and what action you had taken, and what was your observation when you were dealing with that patient. So basically, you just describe the experience, like sequence of the event in detail, step by step approach, so that the scholar can understand what do you mean by, and how you write the event. So the audience which you write the your reflection paper to is to understand what you mean by. And then you go what you describe the sequence of the event, then you go to what action you have taken when the patient was brought to the ER, what action you have taken, and what was your observation beside that action. These are the important factors or parts of the descriptive part of the Gibbs reflective cycle. And if you add some salt to the essay, more like it will be better that if you could tell to your audience that decide why they stand out to you, why that only that event, because in the shift you face too many events. So why only this one events uh, compel you to write on? So if you could write something line or two, three line on that, just to justify or give arguments about that. So that will be one of the uh, positive aspect of your reflective writing. Similarly, when you elaborate your idea on the paper, so try to use a precise and a clear language to convey your message to your audience. And the basic techniques before writing and the essay form, it is better to write in a bullet. And now when you write the bullets on the paper, we just make sequence of that bullet. Like bullet number 9 should come on point bullet number 4, and the bullet number 4 should come on bullet number 7. So you just organize that bullet form and then go with that idea, that sequence, and write your reflection, the description of your reflection. And another techniques is always use the past progressive tense, like I was dealing the patient yesterday, and I had a patient. So usually the past tense uh, and the first person like use the term I. So these are the simple techniques that can help you to put your idea on paper. And now in the third step, you just when you put your bullets on the paper, you will then analyze, break down that scenario, like what happened, what was good, what was bad, what do I do well and not so well, how was my performance while giving care to that patient, what did other do well. It means like when you will go to search for some literature, so some other people also have written, might have written about that event, or maybe might be some research paper available about that topic, that events you have faced. So what was their action when they have faced the similar situation? So you just share your experiences, the other experiences, and give a test, different test to your reflective writing. Then you also can add like what was your expectation, whether the patient could be safe or could be uh, some other outcome that you were expected and that not happened, and what was the reason why that patient, that events that you were expecting, the outcome you were expecting, that was not happened. So basically, as I have told you, in order to add more salt to your reflective writing, you can also add some theory or research or part of the literature. You can give some references and to add that can help you understand your idea better. Now, while analyzing, as I have told you, you can. It is necessary that using the first person singular, like always use the term I, and consider that how what you have read and learned, and how these learning might improve your thinking or practices. So basically, the analysis part is basically it reflect back that how that event help you and that change your practices and your knowledge. Now, in the Second last part, the evaluation part. When you go back to your essay, you just evaluate mean what was good about that experience for me and what was bad about that experience for me. And similarly, you can also add, beside bad experience and good experience, you can also add some new perspective, that what have I learned from this experience and how has this experience affected my thinking. how could how could I have done better. एंड सिमिलरली मैं आगे अगर फ्यूचर में सिमिलर सिचुएशन फेस करूं तो हाउ विल आई गो एंड व्हाट कुड बी the safest way to dealing with this type of event or patients. And as I've told you, integration is the basic concept. Like you the main content along with your personal experiences about that events, that how was the event occurred, or your experience in the class, and what was the content, like the basic description of the events, and how was your experiences. So basically, integration is part of the two ideas: the basic case presentation and your experiences while dealing with that scenario. And in addition to that, you can also integrate a part of the literature so that it can add more sugar to your reflective action. And the action plan part, you as a scholar, you can write that how should I change my practices while experiencing that situation. What was flaws in my practices? What could I have done better? And in future, how I will improve my practices. So many of go just what behavior that I should not supposed to behave, and what was a good behavior, and what was the bad experience that you felt. And similarly, you can also compare that what was the standards. Like I give the example of the BLS patient or the ACLS patient. So whether you followed the standards, like the standard protocols or the procedure that is prescribed in the literature. And similarly, you can also give some suggestion that how can I make changes in my practices. You can suggest yourself and your audience. And the conclusion, you just draw that plan of action that in future if I face a similar situation, I will act like that. I will alert my team. I will follow the standards. Like in that case, if I face a similar patient, situation or events, the collapse patient with the no heart and no breathing, so I will go to follow the ABC technique rather than following the passing the IV cannula. So basically, that are the standard that I have not met. So that could be the reason that the patient brain might have died. So similarly, in this slide, you just go and read, and you will understand that how this paragraph is written about one of the uh, 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 events that this person have shared. So this was all about the reflective writing, and now I will share uh, two of the sample reflective writing that you can go and read, understand. There are two methods of reflective writing. Like the common method is reflective writing method one, in which you just describe the case scenario, and that is mentioned here. Like patient is a 56-year-old male whose weight was this and weight 150 pound, and he was this. You just write a case scenario, and then After writing the case scenario, you just start writing your academic reflective writing essay. Like first you introduce the main topic, that why you selected this topic, what you will discuss, what was the basic essence behind that you're going to write on this topic. And then after brief introduction, you just go on the body. In the body you give a complete detail of that event, what was bad, what was your feeling, how what was went wrong and what was good, how could you improve, you can suggest. And in the last you just go with the conclusion. In the conclusion you just analyze and then conclude that in future that was the reason that the patient or the event happened, the outcome was occurred, and now if a similar situation we faced, so we could have done like this. And as I have mentioned, if you add some literature, so at the last you can add your references, like what type of literature you have added, so just add few of the references. And the reflective writing method number 2, it is just the same what we have discussed in our PPT. In this essay they have followed the Gibbs reflective writing methods, and this is one of the most common method that usually the scholar prefer to use. Similarly, in this method we also give some introduction to the events, like the main topic is healthcare quality strategy for NHS Scotland. This is one of the example. In this scenario they have given introduction to the main issue, and then while following the Gibbs reflective cycle they have described the event, what happened, description of the detail, and then they add his or her feeling to that event, what went, what how he or she was feeling about that uh, healthcare quality strategy. And then in this essay, then this person evaluated how the outcome happened. So similarly, while following the analysis part and then the conclusion parts, and then in the next he or she also advised the action plan, that what I will do in future if I face a similar situation, or give suggestion. So this is one of the example of the reflective writing. You can go through this document and can understand while reading this example. So today we have discussed about the Gibbs reflective writing, uh, how the reflective writing help to improve our learning, our practices, and improve our modify our thinking process. And when you write this reflective writing, you can publish that, and that can help to others, healthcare professionals, to learn from your experiences. Because while sharing your experiences, it will be read by too many others, so they can see what you have faced, so they can avoid the similar mistake what you have done. So it's a good idea. And you can also use your diary book. You just add a similar reflective writing papers or essay into that idea, and diary papers, diary books on daily basis. And a similar after one year or two, you will have a good book. So at the end of the retirement, you can write a book and you can earn too much from that. And while when you're reading to that your diary book, so you will enjoy what you have faced and during your career, and what you have learned, and what you can share to your next future generation. And same, and then this way you can also add to the knowledge economy of the nursing profession. Thank you very much. This session was continuation of the yesterday session. And if you have any question, you can send and add in the comments. Thank you very much, audience. Shukriya.